Are you looking for peace of mind at your doorstep? Look no further. With the Blink Video Doorbell, your home's entrance is always within your control. Check out the link in the video description to learn more and get your Blink Video Doorbell on Amazon. Your home is in your hands.
The mother of a 21-year-old woman who died after receiving the Moderna Covid vaccination received an excruciating reminder a year on from the tragedy. Natalie Boyce, 21, died in March 2022 at the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, 5 weeks after receiving a Moderna Covid vaccine booster, and the case is now before the coroner's court in Melbourne. Her death certificate lists myocardial infarction with subacute myocarditis as the cause. When she was 15, Ms. Boyce was diagnosed with an uncommon blood clotting disorder that affects about 1 in 2,000 people. Deborah Hamilton, Natalie's mother, has become a fierce opponent of jab mandates, saying her daughter was pushed into it by a part-time employer in Melbourne's Deakin University that made it a condition of being on campus. "I hold those pushing vaccines accountable for the death of my healthy daughter," Ms. Hamilton told a parliamentary inquiry in 2023. This same GP practice on February 24 this year, nearly a year to the day of her death, insensitively sent me a text to get my booster on February 24, Ms. Hamilton said. "Money is obviously more important to them than people's lives. This text caused me severe emotional stress." In her 20-minute testimony, which Ms. Hamilton later said only 6 senators bothered attending, the grieving mother narrated a harrowing tale of her family's suffering. Ms. Hamilton said Natalie, who she described as a hard-working student studying a double degree in a Bachelor of Laws and a Bachelor of Commerce, fainted the day after receiving a Moderna shot, following her 2 Pfizer ones, at a chemist. "I called the COVID vaccine line for help, yet they were totally useless," Ms. Hamilton said. "Their response was for me to call an ambulance if I thought I needed one." Natalie began suffering a fever, stomach pain and vomiting, which the GP clinic and later a local hospital misdiagnosed as reflux. With Natalie not improving, Ms. Hamilton decided to take her to Melbourne's Monash Hospital, which she called the biggest mistake of my life. "This major Victorian public hospital was an absolute shambles," she said. Ms. Hamilton said she had to explain to the duty nurse that Natalie antiphospholipid syndrome and even spell it out. Despite being triple COVID vaccinated, Ms. Hamilton was not allowed to accompany her daughter into the wards under the pandemic rules then in place. "I still have text messages in my phone from her, pleading for me to come and be with her as everyone else was allowed someone with them," Ms. Hamilton told Parliament. "This still haunts me today, and probably will for the rest of my life." Ms. Hamilton claims Monash Hospital left Natalie sitting in a chair for 8 hours with a drip in her arm and a full vomit bag. She was humiliated and, as it turns out, in serious heart failure, yet she was ignored by staff, Ms. Hamilton said. They, too, misdiagnosed her and sent her home after about 16 hours. Doctors remarked that they were seeing a lot of these reactions after COVID vaccinations, especially a messy-looking liver on an ultrasound. Yet still they did nothing for her. They failed to investigate her heart, despite all the signs, and sent her home with a report saying she looked well and to follow up with a GP in a week. Ms. Hamilton said that 36 hours later Natalie was in extreme pain and was having trouble breathing, so she rang 000. "I can't believe how I was treated by the ESTA call operator," Ms. Hamilton told Parliament. "I told her that my daughter has antiphospholipid syndrome, which is a blood clotting condition, and that I thought she had blood clots on her lungs. Because Natalie was still conscious, the operator dismissed me and refused to mark the call as a code 1 and to send an ambulance immediately." The operator told an increasingly frantic Ms. Hamilton a paramedic would call her within half an hour to assess whether an ambulance should then be dispatched. "I then made the decision to drive her to Mulgrave Private Hospital," Ms. Hamilton said. She said on arrival with Natalie going in and out of consciousness, they still had to follow protocols and wait 15 minutes for a negative COVID test before she could be seen by any medical person. After a doctor diagnosed straight away that Natalie was in serious heart failure, it was decided she needed to go to the Alfred Hospital for intensive care. Ms. Hamilton